Hello, I'm Melissa Lake. I'm going to complete lab number 1 for my biology class. It is to submit an anatomical terms video of me reviewing these anatomical terms. And I'm going to use the skeleton in my lab kit to review these terms. So to get started, number 1 is right. And this is the anatomical position, base position we start off with. So if we're looking at it from this position, then the right area would be right of this plane. So it would be this right side. And then number 2 is the left side. So it would be the left side of a plane that is, if a plane spits right down the center, right side, left side. Number 3 is inferior. A lot of these terms, I have a hard time, I guess, understanding them if I don't understand the opposite term. So I'm going to just go through them in pairs, if that's okay. So number 1 and number 2 was right and left, and then number 3 and number 4 are inferior and superior. So inferior would be, it means below, so it would, a good example, if I lift this up, would be feet. So the feet are inferior to the rest of the body, or the feet are inferior to the head, they're below the head. Superior would be above, so the head would be superior to the feet. So inferior, superior. Number 5 and 6, anterior and posterior. Anterior means in front of. So if we turn the skeleton this way, then this side, if we split the body in a plane all the way just right down the middle, then this side would be anterior, it would be the front of, and then posterior would be in the back of. So anterior and posterior. Number 7 and number 8 are dorsal and ventral. And dorsal is in the front of, but towards the belly. So it's more of a directional term. Whereas it's similar to anterior because it's in the front, but it's in the direction of towards the belly. And then number 8 was ventral, and that is similar to posterior because it means in the back, but it's towards the spine. So I imagine that dorsal and ventral are probably really good terms used to describe things, muscles, bones, what have you, that are surrounded by a lot of other things, so that you can really determine their direction or their actual place. Anterior and posterior seems just a little bit more high level. So dorsal and ventral seem to be, they have more detail of direction. Number 9 and 10, proximal and distal. Proximal is, so this is another one of those things where it's like just really, it's just easier for me if I have the opposite of it. So a really good example, and one that I found online just everywhere, it seemed to be the key example for this. Proximal would be closer to the trunk, and distal is away from the body. Proximal closer to the body, distal away from the body. So a good example is the shoulder, or this end of bone would be proximal because it's closer to the trunk, and then distal is away. So the fingertips, fingers, just anything in this general area would be distal because it's farther away. Number 11 and 12, lateral and medial. This was another one of those where it's like every example was of the knee, so, or the lower limb, the leg. Lateral would be outside of the body, and then medial is inside of the body. So if we're looking at the leg, this would be the lateral side, this would be the medial side. Superficial and deep are the last two. And superficial, the way I remember it is just think of the surface. And then deep, it's probably the most basic one other than right and left, the most basic term. Deep just means inner, closer to the core. So if we think about it in abdominal muscles, because there are layers in abdominal muscles, the layer of abdominal muscles that are closer to the outside of the body, they would be superficial because they're closer to the surface. And then deep abdominal muscles would be a layer that's under another layer, so closer to the inside of the body. And those are the anatomical terms, 1 through 14 for lab number 1.